What Alexandra Eala did immediately after being knocked out of the Philippine Women's Open. Alexandra Eala suffered an unfortunate exit from her home tournament at the Philippine Women's Open. Eala had been welcomed home like a hero, but she only managed to win 2 matches at the historic WTA 125 event. The Filipina star lost in straight sets to Camila Osorio, who defeated the 20-year-old by a scoreline of 6-4, 6-4. Eala was spotted doing something quite unusual after her exit from the Philippine Women's Open was confirmed. Alexandra Eala hit the practice courts after Philippines' defeat. According to Filipina journalist Diane Castillo, Eala reportedly returned straight to the practice court after losing to Osorio. Alex Eala went to a practice court from the center court to work on some things with her coach Joan Bosch, the journalist wrote on social media. Eala looked unhappy with her game throughout her straight sets loss to Osorio, and looked particularly uncomfortable on her own serve. It shows that drive and determination of the star that she wasn't willing to accept a loss in front of an adoring hometown crowd. Eala will now head to the Abu Dhabi Open, where she has received a wild card. The WTA 500 event is set to take place on the 1st of February. It will be the second time Eala has played the tournament, following a first-round defeat to Magda Linette in 2024. Alexandra Eala's reaction to her Philippine Women's Open exit. Thousands of Filipino fans were willing Eala to win the very first Philippine Women's Open, but it was not to be in Manila. Eala is ranked over 40 places above Osorio, but she was outclassed by the tricky Colombian throughout the match. The Filipina star remained optimistic about her tournament, however, and looked ahead to the rest of her season. Speaking at her Philippine Women's Open press conference, she said, "I think it was an overall good week. Of course, I'm disappointed about today. I definitely think I've had better days, but it's just how it is. I have to accept it, and there's always next week." Eala currently sits at world number 45 after her performances in Manila, which is a career ranking high. After the crowd's cheers faded, what Alexandra Eala did after her Philippine Women's Open exit. The dust still hung in the air at the Rizal Memorial Tennis Center in Manila. The lights had dimmed, but the echoes of cheers and applause from thousands of Filipino fans lingered faintly in Alex Eala's ears. It was a night that held as much promise as heartbreak, and in its wake, it left something far more meaningful than just a scoreline. Alexandra Alex Eala, the 20-year-old Filipino tennis sensation, had been knocked out of the Philippine Women's Open quarterfinals by Colombia's Camila Osorio, 6-4, 6-4. The defeat marked the end of her campaign in the country's first-ever WTA 125 event. And yet, what happened next transcended sport. The immediate moment of loss. Right after the final point was played, Alex stood at the baseline, racket in hand, breathing heavily. The crowd, who had carried her through every rally, rose as one to applaud her. There were no boos, no disappointment aimed at her, just sheer respect, because it was clear she had given her all on that court. While the scoreboard showed a loss, the atmosphere was far from that of defeat. The audience knew they'd witnessed something special, not just another match, but a moment that had brought a nation together. In her first words after the match, Alex spoke with sincerity and humility. "Sorry, I did my best, but what's important is that I'm here in Manila, in the Philippines, and the WTA is here." Her message wasn't about the loss alone. It was about gratitude, inspiration, and connection, reflection behind the scenes. Immediately after leaving the court, Alex did something many might find surprising. She didn't rush away to the locker rooms in silence or retreat into a quiet corner. Instead, she took time with her team, her coach, trainers, and support staff, to debrief. They didn't talk about lost points or what could have been changed. They talked about what she learned and what she was proud of. This was not just routine post-match analysis. It was a ritual in resilience. In these moments, she acknowledged to her team that she had struggled to find her rhythm right from the start, a sentiment she would openly share later with the press, saying there were aspects of her game that just didn't show up today. But she also recognized the positives, the way she fought, handled pressure, and carried the hopes of a roaring home crowd. A press conference filled with heart. Soon after her exit, Alex faced the media. Journalists gathered not to dissect a loss, but to capture her emotions. And what she shared was something far deeper than the results on the scoreboard. She spoke about the duality of playing at home, how the passionate Filipino crowd could be both a cushion and a weight. On one hand, their support made every point feel historic. On the other, it made the sting of defeat harder to swallow. She said, Playing in front of crowds like this that are passionate and that support you, it does cushion the blow. On the other hand, it hurts a little more because you want to do the best for them. These words weren't the brittle statements of a dispirited athlete. They were reflections of a young champion learning to navigate the emotional landscape of elite sport, a landscape filled with hope, pressure, and profound self-awareness. Interactions with fans. Perhaps one of the most beautiful parts of what Alex did after the loss was how she connected with her fans. Despite the match being over, instead of walking past the crowd in haste, she took a moment to wave, smile, and thank every supporter she could see. Fans called out her name. Some cried. Others shouted words of encouragement. And Alex didn't turn away. She acknowledged them with gratitude, giving a sense that, even in loss, she still felt deeply connected to every person who came to watch her play. That exchange wasn't just a courtesy. It was a bridge between athlete and admirer, between personal defeat and shared pride. Immediate next steps. Transitioning to Abu Dhabi. What happened next showed something else about Alex. Her unyielding focus on progress. Less than 24 hours after her Philippine Women's Open exit, she was on a flight to the Mubadala Abu Dhabi Open, a prestigious WTA 500 event scheduled to begin early the following week. Instead of spending days dwelling on her loss, she turned her energy toward the future. A future tournament, new challenges, and another opportunity to test herself against the world's best. This quick transition reflected her mental resilience and strategic planning. The world of professional tennis is unforgiving in its pace. Players move swiftly from one event to the next, rarely afforded time to pause. But Alex's decision wasn't just about schedule. It was about a mindset, to learn fast, to grow, and to earn every point, every match, and every experience that could take her closer to greatness. Internal coping and emotional intelligence.